You know, 15 years ago, when the Haas Jr. Fund became the first foundation to make marriage equality a funding priority, I didn't dare dream that we would be where we are today, which is on the cusp of a historic Supreme Court decision that we hope will bring marriage equality coast to coast. So your question is really, really timely. We've been thinking a lot about this lately, and as I look back, there's several things that strike me. It's hard to remember that not so long ago, many leaders in the gay and lesbian movement were kind of lukewarm at best to the idea of marriage. But Evan Wolfson, 15 years ago, who was then the part of the Lambda legal defense, made a compelling argument to the Haas Jr. Fund that marriage was the legal gateway to more than 1,000 rights and benefits that straight people enjoyed. We started our work simply and small because really there wasn't much happening on the ground back then other than some unsuccessful law cases. And we didn't begin our work with a clear theory of change. Instead, it evolved over time. We made a bet, we funded Evan, we helped him raise the money needed for the organization that he started, which eventually developed into the National Campaign Center for the Marriage Movement. So in retrospect, one of the things that was important about the early years is that we gave ourselves and our grantees the time to muck around, to learn and to make mistakes. Second, even though my first point is about not leaping too soon to strategy, there's no way that the marriage movement would be where it is today if both funders and movement activists didn't fully get behind a common game plan. Progress definitely wasn't linear, and we also learned the importance of failing forward. In 2004, 11 states passed constitutional amendments banning same-sex marriage. So we were not only not making progress, there were devastating setbacks during that time. And I remember how nervous I was walking into our board meeting that November after these elections to talk about these losses with our trustees. But rather than saying, let's pull out, our trustees said, now's not the time for us to be faint-hearted. Stay the course. We get that this is a long-haul issue. So the crisis became a major turning point in the movement. It galvanized people in the movement to double down, to learn from our losses, and to work together in a way that we had never done before. And this is what I mean by failing forward. So with foundation support, 22 leaders in the movement crafted a plan, and it laid out a strategic framework to bring the country to a tipping point in the number of states with marriage so that the Supreme Court could do the right thing. And it was this plan behind which advocates, organizers, lawyers, policy folk, and equally important funders could coordinate and align behind. It took incredible commitment and incredible discipline, and it took leaving big egos behind.
Okay.
Third, I'd like to highlight the pivotal role of strategic communications. Even with the political strategy, we also came to see that the way that we were talking about marriage wasn't working. We weren't winning hearts and minds. So in 2005, with other funders, we supported the first psychographic research to figure out why our messages about marriage being about equal rights, why that just wasn't cutting it. Through that research, we learned something that we should have known really right from the start, that when people think about marriage, they don't think about hospital visitation rights or even tax benefits. They think about being able to marry the one you love. This was about love. And this was a huge shift in the movement. The better we got at this messaging, the more we began to win. So a few takeaways from the marriage movement from my perspective. Give yourself the time to muck around. Don't leap to strategy prematurely. Second, when the time is right, everyone needs to line up behind a common game plan. You can't be a lone ranger. And third, we really need to understand the deep way that people are thinking and feeling if we want to change hearts and minds.
That's great.